opportunity. Oh, good point. Yes, so the meeting is being recorded, everyone. There's an alert. And oh, and I'm the co-host. This is all very exciting. So our goal, really, there's an agenda there, but really, Sarah and I have talked about this, and our real goal here is to give everyone on this subcommittee, this ad hoc subcommittee, an opportunity to kind of talk about themselves so you can get a sense of who you are as a group. Some of you know each other, but others don't. So we need that equal opportunity for everyone to get a sense of who's on the subcommittee. That's one key goal. The second goal is to walk away with a sense of what the meeting plan is going to be. When do you want to meet? What will be the meeting pattern? That kind of thing. And then another key piece, after we kind of talk about what's the general mission as a reminder, is to figure out what your structure is going to be. Who's going to be, do you want to, generally in these subcommittees, there's a chair. So is there a chair? Is there someone who's going to be taking some action notes? Just those sorts of structural pieces. I expect in the time that we have, that's probably all we're going to get done. And then I would bet you're going to come back in the next meeting to talk about your actual work plan and go through some substantive pieces as you move forward. So that's kind of my context. Anyone on the subcommittee have any questions at this point before we kind of go into the introductions? Sarah, any input here? Have I missed anything?
No, Diana, roll it out. You're doing great.
Okay, so I think what we will do, so looking at introductions, always kind of odd, like what are you supposed to say in your introductions? Do I tell my life story? I mean, bio, when was I born? Where did I go? No. So what I think I'd like to do as I look at this group and having looked at your applications, and I tell you, it really, I am not kidding when I say I'm incredibly impressed. I'm thinking name, how long have you been in Sebastopol? What are your Sebastopol connections? So name, Sebastopol connections. What drew you? What is your passion that drew you to come to this subcommittee? So that's the third thing. Name, Sebastopol connection. What drew you to this subcommittee? And whether you have some sort of specific passion. Or passions, meaning, electric vehicles. Well, I'll let you all get into it because we'll be hearing some fun stuff there. And I think, and I'm going to try to keep it, we are trying to not go on and on. And so I'm thinking, somewhere around, 3 minutes each. And we'll come back if we need to, and some will want to talk more than others, but let's just kind of be aware of that. But share, be in the moment. Tell us who you are. We want to know who you are. So does that make sense? Name, Sebastopol connection, what drew you to the subcommittee? What's your passion about this particular topic? So let's start with who. Boy, this is like drawing hats out of a, let's go with Lisa. Lisa Pierce. Lisa, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy that we're finally doing this. We've been waiting a while, so I'm really happy to see everybody. Let's see, my real name is Lisa Lott Pierce. You may have seen that on the application, named after my grandmother there, but I usually go by Lisa. And my husband, Steve, and I have lived in Sebastopol for 25 years. We raised our children here. We love the community. Let's see.
Why did you come to this committee?
Well, I think probably like everybody else, and everyone else is going to sound like a stuck record maybe with this, but I'm very concerned about what's happening to our planet, and want to try to do everything I can to make a difference. And I see this as being an opportunity to work with other people and to actually try to get some stuff done. I'm really hoping this can be a real results oriented group and that we can get some stuff accomplished. So I think that's it for me.
Okay,
Thanks.
so Lisa, I'm gonna break in here and if you can add, because I know, for instance, Lisa, with you, you're an architectural designer, you're a parent educator, you have an MFT, you bring that, you've made some videos, you bring that to the table too. And you've also mentioned electric vehicles is a particular interest of yours, right?
Yeah, that and financing, I think that a lot of people, we have all these dreams and goals, but how are we going to get there? How are we going to pay for things? That's a big, important piece of it for me.
Okay, so kind of the pragmatic, what are we going to do that's practical, that will be effective?
Yes.
And I'll also mention, because I look through these applications, that you're one of those amazing volunteers who does the zero waste work at the Sebastopol Farmers Market. So
I haven't done it for a little bit, but I did.
you did. Okay. All right. Thank you. Let's go on to how about next in the window here is Kenna Lee. Hey, Kenna, tell us, what you're about. Why are you here?
Yeah, so I'm Kenna. I've lived in Sebastopol for 20 plus years and raised my family here also. They're still at home with me, so I guess I can't use the past tense quite yet, but soon. um, so I am really here. Climate has been my, kind of burning issue for many years now. And, really wanted to move from worrying about it to doing more about it in a more effective way, really trying to figure out how to leverage. I've gotten to a point in my career where I can afford to take a step back and work less hours and really devote more of my time to climate. And since I'm a healthcare provider, I'm doing it from the health perspective. And I feel like that's what I really bring to this group is bringing that voice into the room and that framework. I've also been really studying strategies for public messaging around public health and around climate. And so very interested in how we reach across, especially given the current political context. And having been a poll worker in the outskirts of Sebastopol, I think it's really important that we be messaging across the political divide around our climate work and getting a really broad support behind what we're wanting to do, not just within the city, but in the surrounding area as well.
Yeah, what I see in your background, Kenna, is a lot of, I know that you have a certification in climate change, I think from Yale, and that you've applied for and will be starting your master's program at Johns Hopkins School of Public Health. Is that right? Yeah. And you also talked about the importance of modeling, kind of what are the livable ways of addressing climate change to make it more accessible to people. So I thought that was a really interesting sort of, formal education piece that also spoke to your interest in kind of the education communication part of it. Well, thank you for being part of this committee. It's really fabulous to have your perspective. Okay, let's go to, and I'm not sure I'm pronouncing this right, but Joshua, is that correct?
Yep, here I am. Hi all. My name is Joshua Somane. I've had a house in the Sebastopol in the Twin Hills area for about 5.5 years now. I have a 5-year-old daughter, so we're really nesting locally and building that up. I lived several years previously further out in West County, kind of the greater Occidental area. And I've been interested in sustainable design, kind of specifically on a landscape and site basis for upwards of 20 years now. I've been connected to Occidental Arts and Ecology Center for upwards of 20 years now. And then I got a master's in landscape architecture in Seattle in 2010, doing a lot of work on urban green infrastructure, stormwater planning, community-based process, that kind of stuff. These days, I do design for a local organization called Community Soil. We have a landscape construction company and also kind of a nonprofit community engagement wing. And we're doing some work up in the Walbridge burn zones and have done previous fire zones and that sort of stuff. In terms of looking over the materials that we've gotten so far and the things that we're considering, I kind of place myself in the kind of landscape scale sequestration and more like adaptation strategies is sort of my level of interest. And really that ways to engage people in increasing the carbon capture qualities of the landscape, particularly around the Laguna, I think is a really interesting opportunity in our area. And I appreciate things about policy and about greenhouse gas reduction, but having looked at this in the long term, I feel like we're in the place where we need to be adapting and managing, and prevention is not as much on the table as it used to be a while ago. On another side of it, I have a couple of siblings who grew up in town, and so I feel like I grew up in the East Bay mostly, but I've been connected to the North Bay kind of since my birth and since 90s or so. So anyhow, glad to be coming together with you all. Look forward to seeing what we can figure out. So.
Well, yeah, thanks for mentioning because I saw permaculture in your background too. So yeah, that kind of landscape and sequestration piece is going to be an important for this part of the discussion, I think, for this group. How about Sunali? I know you're there somewhere, Sunali. So Sunali, I see you're showing up as Sunali Shanti Sikant. How would you like us to address you?
I'm not particular. Shanti's my
we'll
middle name.
Sunali.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we'll
so
go with
tell us
Sunali.
A little bit about you.
That's just the whole name. Well, one, I'm really excited, and I'm excited that we are all so passionate but have all this diversity. And in particular, the thing that I want to bring to it is nature rights and taking into consideration the different elements of nature in our decisions around climate. I think we tend to be human-centric, or have been, in those decisions, and really working that in and having a good time and being serious but being fun also. And for me, I think I can be a bridge to one of the things that was mentioned in the interviews was how to get people on board, and particularly businesses. And as a business owner for the last 20 years and a homeowner and a resident of Sebastopol, I think I can have sensitivity, hopefully, to the economics, as well as how we weave new perspectives in and shift our ways. And especially given the great pause, I think we have an opportunity to implement some of the changes we've all been yearning to see, and not go back to business as usual. How do we do things differently and better and more inclusive of people and cultures and all the living entities?
Yeah, and I notice, Sunali, thank you for that, but I notice also in your application, you talk about an interest in the food supply and kind of green transportation. So that's kind of a topic that's going to come up, I would think, with this group. And so that's great. We can see, I hope all of you are noticing what a broad array is represented here. Different perspectives that hopefully will contribute to your conversation being really productive. Thank you, Sunali. Dina, Alan, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you wanted to be on this subcommittee?
Yes. So my family moved to Sebastopol in 2009, and I applied to be on this subcommittee because I was part of the Sebastopol Climate Action think tank group that brought the climate emergency resolution to the city council. And that was exciting to work with people that had a lot of knowledge and passion for making our community better. And also I come from a family that we're constantly talking about the climate and the environment and our friends too. So I feel I have a responsibility, especially to my children who are environmentalists and activists, to keep trying to make our world better. You asked about connections. Our family business is the Rahus Institute, where we do solar schoolhouse programs, and we're getting started doing carbon conversations at the Grange before the pandemic, trying to draw in more people and educate each other. I'm part of the 350 Sonoma Steering Committee. I'm on the Food Recovery Coalition, and I glean. And so I feel like my biggest passion has to do with food. So growing food, distributing food. I've started the Home Gardener Produce Exchange with a friend at the Grange that happens in the summer, and that's been successful, getting gardeners together and sharing and donating extra food. So if it has to do with growing, distributing, regenerative farms, regenerative gardens, food security, food for health, I'm very interested, and I think I'd like to find more ways to do that, since sequestering carbon is really going to be necessary to up our game in that, if we're all going to have a good future, or a hope for a good future.
Great, thanks. And I'll mention that you have a bachelor's, I think, in health sciences, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But clearly a big thread there, strong thread in terms of food and gleaning. And so, that's another really important theme to recognize. And we have some expertise in this room that will contribute to that. So that's really awesome. So I'm going to go to, I'll go Woody, and then Sarah, and then Alex, and then Gerald. So Woody, can you unmute there and tell us a little bit about what brought you here to this subcommittee?
Great. Thank you so much, Diana. And hi, everybody. Really great to meet all of you and see some of my friends here. Really glad this day has arrived. So yeah, my name is Woody Hastings. I've lived, my wife June Brashares and I moved to Sebastopol in 2009, same time that Dina and Tor did. My day job is at the Climate Center. It's a nonprofit organization based here in Sonoma County. And what drew me to this, what got me to want to participate in this particular committee, is that the Climate Center, we work at the state level, and I really wanted to be able to work on the climate issue at the local level, and in particular to see what kind of things we can do in Sebastopol that might turn out to be models that can be propagated and shared with other small cities. And so we can amplify what we do here. I know that, I love the fact that Sebastopol is, not afraid of trying new things. And so I want to be able to do that kind of thing and see if we can share what we learn and what we implement, and hopefully, yes, have some good results and be successful and be able to share that. So my passion, my main goals, the practicalities of identifying good funding, financing sources for things that the city can do. I think that's super important, kind of a square one thing. And the actions that we would choose, I would want them to be equity and justice based, meeting community and human needs in a climate smart way. At the Climate Center, and my specialties are energy, but I'm really interested in all of the above and interested to learn more about the things I don't know a lot about. But I think, transportation is the big chunk here in Sonoma County, and we need to sort out how to move around without emitting greenhouse gases. And I think there are new opportunities for that. I'm involved with, in addition to the Climate Center, involved with other groups and stuff. So I think there's some connections and things that I bring. And I think I'll stop there. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Woody. Woody has a long time history, and so he's got nice connections that kind of spread throughout the community that go back a ways in terms of kind of the developments of climate action efforts here in Sebastopol. So it's great to have him here. it's yeah, looking at I do see you mentioning, I actually latched onto microgrids because I think that's so cool. But yeah, there's a lot of interest that you have. And I think the focus on funding, equity, justice, and kind of, practical, what can you actually get done? We've heard a couple of people mention that. So thanks for that. Okay, so we're going to go to Sarah Elliott, I think. Sarah, where are you?
Hello.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
It's so nice to have you here. Sarah is our young person in the room, and
Yeah.
just so wonderful. So go ahead, tell us, why are you?
I'm a senior at Anley High School. Hopefully I'll be going to college next fall. And I have lived in Sebastopol my whole life. And I got involved with this through, I was part of my school club called Anley Eco Action. And I was really involved with that, like doing protests climate strikes and like compost programs and things like that. And my adult leader, Sunny Gilbraith, she got me involved with this. And I thought it's a really important to be able to do little actions on the local level, because I think that it all adds up, and that's the way to make a change that's effective. And what I bring to the group, I don't really have any like specialized skills, but I guess I bring like youth energy and like perspective, like hopes for the like larger scale change, like the Green New Deal and things like that. I'm also passionate about like how we can combine environmental justice with like social justice. And I'm part of series, so I am very involved with like sustainable gardening and things like that. And yeah, I'm excited to be here.
It's so great to have you here. And, we have Luke Lindenbush here. And honestly, Luke, historically, you've been the youngest person in the room. So it must be kind of nice to have someone younger here. But Sarah, if you're looking to a role model, Luke Lindenbush is not that much older than you are. And he's gone a long, long ways in doing things that he's passionate about. So thanks, Sarah, for being here and for taking your time. And honestly, what you even just your being here reminds us of one of the reasons that all of us are driven on this topic, which is, we want the world to be fabulous for the next generation. So having you here contributing, and the fact that you're willing to take your time and commit to this process is just, it'll be a constant reminder. It's for your generation. It has to be done now, but it's for yours. So thank you for being here. Alex, I think you're next. Alex Goodman. So tell us, why are you
Hello. Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I'm really excited to be a part of this group. Let's see, I moved to Sebastopol just about 5 years ago. I'm originally from San Diego, California. I came up here to study at Sonoma State about 10 years ago now, just under 10 years ago. I studied business there. And started to hear this word called climate change I had never really understood or heard about before, and like being, eco-friendly and composting and recycling are kind of newer concepts for me coming from Southern California. And I just got really kind of excited about it and continued to grow. I got really into farming and gardening, and had a small farming business in Petaluma for a few years while I was going to school. And that transitioned me into a role at Amy's Kitchen, where I'm currently an agricultural buyer. And so working on a lot of sustainability and climate related projects there, as we're working with the same kind of challenges, right, in converting our business to a climate neutral or or a carbon neutral or carbon negative company. So I think for me, it's just really been a growing passion. I think what really kind of lit that spark was going to Al Gore's climate leaders presentation a few years ago, and that really kind of jumpset me into really getting involved in the community. And since then, I've been working with different groups in the area to just find out what we can do to spread the word, educate our community, learn more about this complicated topic. And I think for me, I'm most interested in energy, transportation, I think finance is really, I really like numbers. I think finances are some really creative ways we can work there. And I think to Woody's point too, I really think that Sebastopol can be a strong model for other cities in California and also across the nation or even globally. If we really put our minds to it. I think we already are in some ways. And I think there's ways we can improve that and really make it a model city for what 2050 could look like. And I think that we have a brilliant group here, it sounds like, to make that happen. So really excited.
Thanks, Alex. And thank you for signing on to contributing to the group. I wanted to just note in your application something that I thought was particularly interesting that I didn't see elsewhere, which was your idea that by taking the initiative and being a leader with climate change, Sebastopol has the opportunity to create kind of a brand that we
Yeah.
are the sustainable, the example, the model of a sustainable small town, and therefore kind of, convert it into a attraction, something that brings us more attention, more revenue, more opportunity. So it's just an interesting perspective that I saw.
Absolutely.
Thanks for contributing there. And then I think we have Jerry Glasser is our last person. So Jerry, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, it's Jerry and it's Glazer.
Glazer,
Everybody
thank
calls me Jerry. Family calls me Gerald. I have white hair. I don't know how I got it. And Carrie and Woody and Zeno and Mike and June. No, I can fill the entire 3 minutes. Don't worry about it. I have a degree in physics, which makes me think about things that way, but I studied for 3 years for a master's degree in architecture, spent 5 years with Skidmore, Owings and Merrill, but I have a career in IT. So that's the way that I think. I do a lot of investing, so I believe in the market. I've been a vegetarian since 1993 because that's when I became really aware of climate. And the books behind me and the ones over here, not as many as Zeno has, but I try to capture as many as I can, covering the topics. We live in Sebastopol. We've been here for 4 years. We've owned property here since 2014 and tried to build a net zero building, but the building cost was too high. So we bought a house and then spent 7 months with the guys who I now work with, renovating the house so that it's currently net positive. And it's a 1954 house that we made net positive. So often I talk about how do you do that and why is that important to do? I have been a planning commissioner, as you mentioned, here in Sebastopol. I was also planning commissioner in the city of Sunnyvale, which is a population of about 170,000 with 70,000 employees. Carrie gets tired of hearing that. I spent 5 years as the chair of the committee that developed the climate action plan for Sunnyvale, its first climate action plan, and also its land use and transportation updates, which I had done 20 years before. Now, I told you I have white hair. Because they all go together, and that's part of what we had learned. I drive an EV. We've been driving EVs since 1998. I helped put together the meeting that the Electric Auto Association has once a month. And if you really enjoy finding out what's happening in not just transportation, but environmental stuff, the EAA here in the North Bay has a really good meeting once a month that you can just drop in on. There's really no issue with it. The things that I'm passionate about, and Woody said it, and I said it during my interview as well. Sebastopol has 7,800 people. Sunnyvale has 170,000 people. Sunnyvale is the 5th largest city in the Bay Area. So the impact that it can make with the changes that it does, it's, by the way, renovating its now climate action plan. They're into phase 2 because they've achieved the goals from phase 1. And that's where I learned about CCAs, and I promoted the development of something that became Silicon Valley Clean Energy. That's how I met. I ended up meeting Woody because I met Ann because we were on the same dais multiple times talking about CCAs. I believe that energy is the key for us, and I believe that Sebastopol being a model is the most important thing that we should do. That is, whatever we accomplish here, because we're so small, it won't impact the environment that much. But if we become a model for how you do those things, and there are so many small cities in the United States, and that model rolls out, that becomes powerful. It's what Anne Hancock called speed and scale. You do the demonstration and then you show people how to do it. And then they all do it, and suddenly that's where the impact occurs. So
Jerry, I'm giving you your 5. I'm giving you your
that's fine. So
second timer.
That's right. The places that I'll focus will also be microgrids, because I believe that microgrids, and I mean extensive microgrids, not just my house, but looking at how a city can do that. Those are the kinds of things I think we focus on. And we are an agro community, so we do have to demonstrate that as well. But I told you I could fill the full 3 minutes.
I know. And that's fabulous, because I honestly think that everyone here could have filled about a half hour. I only had a half hour to read each of the applications, and I wanted about an hour. So yeah, it's an amazing group here. So I just, yeah, so Luke, thank you. So I would like to hear from Luke. Luke Lindenbush is our Planning Commission liaison, but he also will be contributing. So Luke, tell us.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Rich, and thank you as well to Vice Mayor Gurney, Carrie, and Alan for convening this. I'm really excited, as I think I might have been the first person appointed back in March, and due to the events of the last however many months it's been, here we are, and I'm so glad that this moment has arrived. So I'll just go back a little bit. As mentioned, I'm on the Planning Commission and will be reporting everything that this group does that's relevant to the Planning Commission to that body, but myself, I'm a 20-year Sebastopol resident. I was raised here, went to public schools in Sebastopol for 13 years, and was a founding member of Annalee Students for Sustainability, now known as Annalee Eco Action. So really excited, Sarah, to see that continuation here, and that work continues as well. And that was my first exposure to climate action. I also continued that in college. I was the faculty liaison for my campus at New York University's fossil fuel divestment campaign, gathered over 350 signatures from faculty for the second largest fossil fuel divestment petition in the country's history. So was really proud of that. And during that time was studying global public health and urban development, community development. So a lot of my motivation to be involved in planning and in my research at the end of college, which was focused on the impact that global pandemics can have on civil society. Again, here we are. Is really derived from my passion for climate change, and that we see with COVID-19 that this is a pandemic that is also driven by animal agriculture and climate change and other factors that have been brought up. My current work over the past couple of years has been in campaigning. So worked on electoral campaigns from New York to Houston to San Francisco to back here at home, most recently as campaign manager for Brian Barnacle in Petaluma. So really committed to getting climate champions elected on a local, state, and federal level. And that's guided a lot of my work. And currently I'm staff on Generation Housing, which is a new organization that works on the supply, affordability, and diversity of housing in Sonoma County. And my climate work definitely informs that as well. And I also worked on the affordable housing bond, or not last year, 2019 at this point, for San Francisco. So definitely am committed to planning and housing in particular as being part of the climate solution, not just making homes more sustainable in terms of how they're built, but also making sure that we can reduce some of the impacts on urban sprawl and also address some of our equity concerns as well. And that's really important in Sebastopol, I think, because last month there was a report that came out from UC Berkeley that indicated that Sebastopol is more racially segregated than the city of Tiburon, believe it or not. So we definitely have some work to do on making our community more equitable, especially as we see more people who are displaced as a result of climate change around the world and here at home. So thank you all so much for the opportunity to be here, and really excited for this work underway.
Thanks, Luke. I think we're really fortunate to have you as the Planning Commission liaison, because you not only you can be that liaison, the communication with the Planning Commission, but you also have your own personal passion about the topic. So hey, win-win, right? I would like to give Sarah Gurney a couple of minutes to introduce herself, and then maybe Alan, and then I'd like to just go over, kind of pitch a summary of what I see as the breadth of our skill set here. And then Alan and Carrie, maybe you can make sure we understand what the planning department's contribution is to our process. So Sarah, go,
Okay.
tell us.
Hey, thank you, Diana, and thank you everybody for being available for this meeting, for applying and offering your service to our public. You truly are a brain trust, and I look to each of you to solve all our problems. Luke, you've just inspired me. I know there are answers. We just have to go find them and do them. But before I say anything about me, I'd like to see if we could have Zeno introduce himself. Zeno is our appointee. And that's important for us to recognize, Zeno, if you wanted to join in to the CAAC, the Climate Action Advisory Council. I hope that's the right translation of those initials with the Regional Climate Protection Agency. Zeno, are you there and responding?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm not dressed for a public appearance, but I will. So I will keep my video blank. I'm lucky to represent Sebastopol on the county level, and we're a little further along there. We're working on a draft now to go to the Board of Supervisors. We have a meeting on Friday to look at this draft again that is open to the public. And I think it's important for the cities to connect with the kind of global or countywide effort. So if anybody in this group likes to sit in on that, I think that would be really helpful. So you kind of see what is already planned. I think another example would be to connect with Petaluma. They're a little bit further along also, and they have a plan that they accepted, I think, on the committee level. I'm sure we're going to have our own flavor, and that's important. But I think a lot of these things could be joining hands, joining resources, joining ideas. So that's my recommendation for this group, to connect on that level of the county with both the Board of Supervisors Committee and the local city council committees.
Thank you, Zeno. We always enjoy your voice, buddy. I just have to comment. Yeah, outfits aside. So if I just say a minute, take a minute to speak about myself, I'd let everybody know I've been on the council for 16 years, having lived in Sebastopol 42 years, raising 2 children here through the public school system. Now they've moved far, far away. We're still in that same little house. I'm not sure how I got involved in all of this. Originally, I was drafted to run for city council through an appointment process. There was a vacancy, and that started the first partial term. I went on to a next term. Nobody wanted to run, so I was appointed again, and then went through some campaigns. It's been the most rewarding work I've done. I'm not sure either exactly how I got into this world of transportation, but there I am. I'm one of these people as a college student who rode a bike everywhere for many years of my first job. I didn't own a car and rode my bike. My first job was actually being a walking letter carrier. So I spent all day outdoors walking. When I came to Sebastopol, I got involved in general plan work and water conservation, did a number of projects with daily acts, including the conversion of the City Hall front yard, not once, but twice. That's what happens when you've been here a long time. You got to redo what you did. And also the installation of the rain barrels. I then got into the walks program, the bus program, and transportation has, alternate transportation has just become something I'm identified with. I want to mention that Sebastopol has that history as a leader. We were the first to go with the free local shuttle. We now have 6 routes following our lead in the county. We also have the first electric bus. We started the walks program, which is the long enduring program from iWalk Sonoma. We also have joined Bay Wren's Water Upgrade Save program, which is a conservation program the council will be hearing next week. And Cloverdale just said yesterday they want to come into it too. So I think it's really fun for us to think of ourselves as leaders. I mean, why not think that way and see where it goes? Because we may just go somewhere and take some other cities with us, showing them the way. I want to compliment Petaluma on their great work. We have a number of people who were at the RCPA meeting yesterday. Kevin, Pete, Mark, making some good comments, and I think here to assist us today so that we can do our best in this meeting. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Sarah. So you can see we have a lot of expertise here. We're closing toward an hour here, and I'd really like to have us move on to some decision making. So quickly, Alan and Carrie, whichever one of you would like to. Carrie, you look like you're trying to keep your eyes open. Would like to is that just me, guys, or are those toothpicks holding your eyes open? Anyway, if one of you could let us know, just kind of give us really brief what the planning, what we can expect the planning, the staff's role to be in this subcommittee, keeping in mind that for most of the people on the subcommittee, they have not been assigned to a subcommittee in the past. Hello?
Ellen, I'll let Ellen take the lead. He is the staff liaison to this group. So.
Yeah. So my understanding of my role is really just kind of be the liaison between the council, or essentially the group and the city council. So when an item needs to go up towards the city council, we'd help prepare the staff reports, work with you guys, and help make everything kind of fit in the processing and scheduling to take it to the city council. Just trying to think, it's pretty new to myself as well, so I'm going to be learning my role within this committee as well as we're going.
Good. So you can deliver lattes to all of us, right? Snacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you actually go to your front doors right now, there's Starbucks out there.
Yes, I don't know, some jokes occasionally stand up. Okay.
If I can add just a couple of things. One of the key roles that Alan will have is, as staff in the planning department, we're sort of the experts on the general plan, all the various policies that guide the city, as well as sort of the city processes. If there are initiatives that need to go through the planning commission or other bodies, we'll have the understanding, and Alan will help kind of guide whether or not things need to take a different route, or how, the process component of it as well, so that you have an understanding of that component.
Got it. Yeah, it's great to just have the access to the expertise. And as I look at all of the people, many of them who have stepped up for this ad hoc subcommittee, there are a number of you who come from the Sebastopol Climate Action. And so you've been functioning within that sort of group dynamic. The difference here is now you have, staff support and greater access to resources. So hopefully that will be that will help facilitate your process and give you an opportunity to actually see the changes you want to be seen, move forward into actual policy and action and changes on a city-wide level. So that's one of the things the staff support and the city council involvement bring to this topic. Me, very briefly, in Sebastopol for 20 years, just elected onto the city council, really excited, have a lot of energy. The environmental topic is just it's right up there. I mean, it's now, it's not tomorrow, it's actually yesterday. So we're kind of behind here, folks, but we cannot delay it any longer. And if you look at all the metrics, we're just continuing to fall behind. And I'm sorry, the fact that our emissions are 7% better this year because of the pandemic than they were before, that doesn't reassure me. People are going to hop right into their cars. So this kind of reiterates something that someone else said. Let's not lose, I think it may have been Dina, let's not lose the changes. Let's see if we can embrace them. So I look at this group and I see us having a real opportunity at this point in time where there's been a lot of a lot of processing and a lot of advancements that have come along at regionally and state level that we can now leap in and try to be a model city. So I'm just excited to be participating in this process. The next step, I think, is probably to simply state very quickly what the task was as stated by the City Council for this commission. And then I think the next step is probably to have some discussion about what you think your structure should be. Should there be a chair? Do you want to elect a chair? Do you have any perspective on that? Is there someone who might want to take some, action item notes as we move forward here? I'm not quite sure how to facilitate all of that, other than to just put it forward and say, hey, this is something that you as a group need to determine. How are you going to facilitate your decision making? So the statement on the application that you all filled out, just in general about commissions, is that the primary responsibility of a committee is to implement adopted city policy and advise and make recommendations to the City Council. Then, as you probably all know, on December 3, the resolution was passed by the City Council. A number of you were probably there when that happened. And I think a number of you had some input on that process and attended the meetings that led up to it. So and you think about it, that's actually not that long ago, right? Well, December 3, 2019, maybe it is. The resolution had an attachment, and it also described a number of tasks that the subcommittee was expected to take on. I'm going to, just as an introduction here, just remind you of some of the expertise that you have here in this room. So we've got an architectural designer who's was a parent educator by training, MFT, interested in electrical vehicle fair, possibly, Sebastopol Farmers Market, assistant on the zero waste, so facilitator type, who also has made videos. That would be Lisa Pierce. Josh O, landscape architect, permaculture skills, really interested in the sequestration issue. Sunali Sikand, herbal studies is her expertise. She's got food supply interest, kind of green transportation, business sort of perspective, making it practical. Dina Allen, she's all about the food recovery, gleaning, the sequestration sort of topic, and also has been involved in a lot of 350 Sonoma, Sebastopol Climate Action, has a BS in health science. Woody Hastings, all around environmental, very knowledgeable guy, BA in environmental studies, interested in funding equity and justice, gas emissions, microgrids, very broad base of knowledge. Kenna Lee, actually, she didn't mention this, but theater studies was her formal training. Also has a certificate in climate change from Yale and is starting off on her master's at Johns Hopkins. Hers is about kind of modeling communication, making it accessible to try to capture it to the normal human being. How do you actually integrate climate change patterns into your lifestyle? Alex Goodman, he's interested in housing, actually. I'm not sure he mentioned that in his discussion, but it kind of overlapped with what Luke was saying, which I found interesting. Education, establishing a Sebastopol kind of brand, sustainability, all those sorts of issues. Then we have Sarah Elliott, who's our youth person, Annalee High School, involved with Interact. She didn't mention that. Rotary Group series, has been on the Annalee Eco Action Group, really interested in seeing change for obvious reasons, also interested in the food piece of it. And then we have Jerry Glaser, who is, former planning commissioner, kind of marketing interest, microgrids, understands systems, and because of his IT expertise, but also just because of his experience with all these different groups. And then, of course, we have Luke, who's got all sorts of background that he brings to this group, including, kind of the global public health piece, and global studies and campaigning, and his interest in housing. And Zaino, who's here as a representative of the CAAC. So this is our expertise in this room. When I look at what the resolution said this group was intended to address, I'm going to ask you, Alan, to bring up the document that you probably labeled as the subcommittee, creation of the Climate Action Subcommittee. Can you share that with us? And just take us to page 2 of that document. So this is a document that's just outlined what this group was intended to do. And it's just a bullet point thing. Then there's a much longer document that talks about specific actions that we need to get done, all electric reach code, very specific. Do you see the document I'm talking about, Alan?
Yeah, I'm currently just trying to pull it up now. I'm having some
But while
lag
he's
on my
doing
phone.
that, I'm interested, and I'm just going to go around the room, and we're going to go just arbitrarily here. Maybe we'll go backwards. And I'd like to know from the group here how you, because this is your group, how you foresee organizing. What ideas do you have about organizing this group? Should there be a chair? Should there be regular meetings? Give us some ideas about what you see as a productive way for this group to organize itself. And let's start with Woody. You've done a lot of organizing of groups, so tell us, as we leap into this process, what would you suggest we do in order to make sure that structurally this group starts on a firm foundation that everyone can buy into?
Sure. Well, yeah, I mean, I do think that regular meetings are, there's certain basics. So I think regular meetings are a necessity. We could start with once a month, and if that seems too frequent, then we can maybe go to one, every other month. But I would think starting off once a month until we get our sea legs is probably a good idea. I also think having some designated roles makes sense. A chair, two co-coordinators, or a chair and a co-chair. And then I think, aspects of determining who might be taking notes for any given meeting might change over time, or that could, some of the things are going to go to city staff, and maybe, you can inform us as to what some of those are, so we don't have to worry about designating one of our members to be, doing something that the staff support can do. But yeah, I mean, having good notes and maybe recording there's questions, I guess, out there. Will the meetings be recorded? Sounds like yes. So, there will be notes presumably in backup. But yeah, I think a chair, co-chair, and regular meetings makes sense. So figuring that out. And I think for the determining the meeting, I'll just say there are tools like Doodle and whatnot where we could just put something out to all the members with a understanding that the idea would be what are dates and times or a date and a time that works for you on a regular monthly basis where you are usually free, and everybody can fill in that form, and we can all find a date that works for everyone that way, as opposed to trying to sort that out now, because I think that would just probably not work.
No, that's too lengthy a discussion. Woody, since you raised that, I think your work schedule may be one of the challenges we face here. I think it's true of Luke too. So since you raised that topic, is a lunch hour workable for you,
Sure.
specifically?
You know, here's the thing. There's two things about it. One is, yes, lunch hour and really, you know, flexible time. Now we all work remotely at the Climate Center, so I can carve
Okay.
out whatever the time is during the day, you know, schedule permitting, because I have regularly scheduled meetings too, of course. But no, the thought about, you know, I had suggested at one point, maybe it's a non-starter, but that we hold, you know, meetings in the evenings. Now, you know, maybe that can't happen on a regular basis, but maybe it could happen at least once or twice a year. And here's the reason, you know, to make it more accessible to the public. This is about, you know, public being able to participate. And so working people that work during the day, doing all the meetings during the day makes it tough. So I think for you know, through an equity lens and wanting to try to really make it possible for people to participate, ideally, I think we would do the meetings in the evenings. But given that it sounds to me, what I've heard is that we can't do that, I'm hoping that maybe once or twice a year we could hold, you know, an evening meeting.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, good point in terms of the equity piece. Yeah, just for everyone's understanding, in terms of regular meetings that would be attended by staff, those would need to happen on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, kind of within the 9 to 5 sort of time span. But that doesn't prohibit, you know, once or twice a year actually doing a fully public meeting. So regular meetings, definitely a yes. Lisa, do you want to weigh in on kind of what we should be doing here in terms of organizationally? Lisa, you're muted.
I'm sorry, I keep forgetting about that. I agree with everything that Woody just said. It sounds like a good plan. I am kind of wondering, since I think we're likely to be wading into some fairly controversial topics ahead that people are going to have some passions about in the community. And I think we have staff that are joining us that, you know, that evenings may not be possible. And we know how public comment periods can get quite lengthy at times if there's a bunch of passionate people who want to weigh in on meetings. And I guess that's just a concern that I wanted to bring up. Like, we have a lot to get done.
Yeah.
I think we have a real big responsibility of to actually get work done. And how would we manage public comments? Like, is it something we do in the beginning, at the end, or not every time? Maybe it's we're not under Brown Act as far as I know, so we can, it doesn't have to necessarily be public, but I see us as being a working group and an advisory group, and not a decision-making body. So
Right. So I understand what you're saying, Lisa. That needs to be addressed. So in terms of the organizational piece, what are the, you know, in terms of making them open to the public, how is this group going to be approaching that issue? So that's an important thing to bring up. Anyone have any ideas on any other issues, perspectives? What are we looking for in a chair? Anyone want to step up and say, I want a chair? Yes, go ahead, Joshua.
Hi there. I'm going to try not to have like super strong opinions on anything process related. We're all just here to kind of sort stuff out.
Cool.
I feel like if we're only meeting once a month, I could potentially meet twice a month. I don't know how realistically that is, but if we're only meeting once a month, I feel like it's going to be 1.5 to 2 hours. It really needs to be focused. I'm interested in a collaborative process, but to the extent that we can simplify that so that the process is just going to roll along and we're not going to get in the way of getting things done. In a similar framework, I have caution about the whole public input section. I don't understand that facilitating the public is a big part of what we're supposed to be doing in these meetings. I'm open to it on occasion, on special occasion, but you know, on an ongoing basis, I'm interested in the action. You know, I hope that at every meeting we have a sense of what are we trying to get done during the meeting, what are we trying to get done before the next meeting. And I think we can each take our kind of topics of interest and our assigned tasks and go off and work on them on the side and keep in touch by email or whatever. But, you know, hopefully each meeting we're accomplishing something and setting our sights a little forward. And
Yeah.
on that front, I'm fine with meeting between Monday and Thursday. Thursday afternoons I can't do. For me in my work situation, it's better to put it towards the end of the day rather than in the middle of the day, so that I can kind of, you know, close my desk for my other job and just sort of do this. So for me, Tuesday or Wednesday around 3 o'clock is kind of a nice time slot, though I'm certainly flexible on that over multiple meetings. And that's about it. Thanks.
Thanks, Joshua. I think what we'll do is take the suggestion that the actual meeting discussion happen outside this particular meeting, and we'll end up doing a doodle because we're going to start losing energy here, and we need to focus on the specific decisions that have to be made. So yes, I think this is a group that is focused on action. I expect what you're going to do is there are interest groups. I'm hoping that your next meeting, what you would do is come together, you split into some sort of subcommittees, you look at what your task is. If you look at this document that's been shared here, you'll see at the very bottom, I think at the very bottom, no, those are the documents to be sent out. I think we may be in a different document than I was thinking about. So let's not get distracted by that. Chair, co-chair. I'm just gonna put it out there. Anyone feel like, let's face it, the chair, co-chair position is gonna take more time. It's gonna be a facilitation sort of role. You'll be working on developing the agenda. You'll have to do outreach in order to figure out what next steps are gonna be. You're gonna have to do some advanced research for this very next meeting. Whoever's the chair or co-chair is going to be looking at all the applications, is going to be thinking about what was said here, maybe reviewing this recording in order to refresh their recollection about the interest areas that people were focused on. The chair and co-chair position, although it won't be making all the decisions, it is going to be facilitating a lot of activity. So I look at a number of people in this room and I think, no, like Woody, he's got too much going on. You know, I mean, but there are others of you in this room that have the time, that have the interest, that have that expertise, because, you know, not all of us are facilitators, that would want to own the chair, co-chair, two people. So anyone out there going, you know, I got the bandwidth, I am a good facilitator, I've done this before, I want to own this, but I can let other people speak. Speak up if this is something that you feel like you want to do.
I'm happy to.
I wanted to speak.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
Jerry, go ahead.
Yeah. Having been a chair,
yeah.
I don't want to be the chair, but I would spend 8 to 16 hours a week. And part of what the chair does is works with staff. I think the chair should do. Work with staff and determine what the agenda is for each of the meetings and what discussions we'll have. Because working on this kind of work, it is something where you do collaborate and you do have discussions back and forth until the group has agreement. It's not just a voting thing.
Yep.
You don't get anything with the vote because the details never come out with the votes. If you have the discussion, everybody gets their point of view across and explain why they feel the way they do. And that works so much better. But it means the chair has to be a very good facilitator and willing to work with staff.
Yep.
And by the way, I think we should meet more often than once a month. And I agree with later in the day.
Yeah. Thank you. So anyone here, I heard a voice saying, oh, I'd be willing. So, I mean,
well, this is Kenna.
Yeah. Sorry.
I am willing to put in the time and energy, but I feel like I don't really have the expertise in working like policy, government. That's just outside of my bailiwick or my experience and history. So I would be happy to co-chair with somebody that feels like they might be able to be complementary skill set to mine.
Got it. All right. So anyone want to join forces with, oh, Luke, no, you have enough going on, but do you have something to help us decide?
I can vice chair. I won't sign up for co-chair, but I would gladly support in the areas described, kind of.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? It would be nice to have someone who had some kind of general overview expertise. I mean, Lisa, hello. No, she's nodding her head. So, okay, so Lisa's a no. And Woody is a no. Jerry, I think you specifically expressed that you really didn't want to do the chair thing. Is anyone thumbs up on sure? I'm hearing from Kenna and Luke. Anyone else? So Luke, are you serious that you would be willing to co-chair? Did I hear that correctly?
Vice Chair.
Okay, so Kenna, that leaves you in the chair position. Oh, we have Joshua raising his hand. Yes, Joshua?
I feel like I could assist with that process, but I might suggest that maybe chair isn't a permanent and sole position, that it's kind of a role or a function that we need to happen on an ongoing basis, but maybe there isn't a permanent chairperson and that there isn't a hierarchy in terms of getting that chair function done. And on that framework, I would be happy to keep in touch with one or two other people who are trying to hold that part of it for, you know, a few months, say 3 to 6 months, we do that. And then maybe if we're getting overburdened, we try to rotate out of it, something like that. I mean, I feel like facilitation it's a role, but you don't want to like have it become a structural hierarchy or whatever. You kind of just want to share that around. So.
I'll just point one thing out. The chair does not have to be technical.
Right.
The chair has to understand people. So Kenna, if you understand people and what people will want to discuss and what needs to be done, that's the most important role of the chair. It's not the technical part. That's the reason there's staff.
Yeah, I think, and I hear this conversation, and yeah, it's absolutely, I mean, Kenna, you have the formal training for it, you have the interest level, you've set aside time for it. So yeah, and you said, yeah, I can handle that. So it sounds like, is everyone, I mean, I think what we're settling on is we have Kenna as a chair with Luke and Joshua as kind of her support system and her go-to people. Does that, everyone thumbs up with that? And Kenna, what about you? Are you thumbs up with that?
I'm only okay with it if Kenna can shut me down.
I have some experience with that at work. So I'm more than happy to do that as long as the group can just commit to giving me really honest feedback about in what ways I'm meeting the needs and what ways I'm maybe not meeting the needs.
Cool.
Thank
Wow.
you to all of you for stepping up and taking that on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm so happy with the way this is all going so far.
Well, I want to compliment Diana and Alan because they've put a lot of thought into how to start this up. And I think it's working really well too. It's with their preparation ahead.
What I really like is the fact that, I mean, this is how we started this meeting. This is your group. I mean, you need to define it and you need to run forward with it. And Sarah and Carrie and Alan and I can be there to provide resources and assistance. So this is like so cool. This is exactly what I had hoped for. Okay, so we have Kenna as chair and Joshua and Luke as, okay, so everyone unmute because we have to do a little cheering here, okay? And so we have Kenna as chair and Joshua unmute, Sarah unmute, everyone unmute. Okay, are we ready? Okay, so we have Kenna as chair and Joshua and Luke as co-chairs, and everyone say hooray!
Hooray, thank you. We appreciate you. Yay.
Thank you.
That's so cool. Okay, so my work is done. So I think the only other piece that was floating out there was, oh, hold on, Sunali?
So just agree with what Sarah said. Thank you for setting the stage and directing it and getting all our input. I think that that's just wonderful and necessary. And what Joshua said about, or maybe it was Gary, about it not being a vote, but it being a discussion and a facilitation. And I see the chairperson as a web weaver to take all the ideas and like meld them together, and we can hopefully all support in that. And going back to what Woody said about integrating the public more in this, I think a 1 hour, 1.5 hour meeting for me seems short if we're directing what we need to do. but maybe we can incorporate some public engagement events in the work that we come together to put to facilitate more of that engagement. Whether it be, I mean, there's some ideas on how we could do that. That's it.
Thanks, that's great. So Kenna, you're now the chair.
Oh dear.
The only things that were kind of remaining on for me on the to-do list, if you want to pick them up, is whether you want to have someone to keep action item notes of some kind. I will confirm that Alan is going to go ahead and record these meetings. And Alan, maybe you could tell us, one, how we'll get access to those recordings, and two, I think, Kenna, it might be worthwhile to have this question about public meetings and Brown Act, and can these be private meetings addressed? Do you think that's important to do, Kenna, at this point? Or you want to leave?
I think as much information as we can get about that, I'm thinking we're coming close to the time. Here we have less than 15 minutes left, and so it's possible that we could just take Woody's suggestion of a doodle poll and maybe do a two-phase one where we ask some of these questions, one about kind of ideas and general times before we do one that we try to narrow it down to specific times. So just getting a sense from the group of how long we want to meet, how often we want to meet before we try to figure out what days we want to meet. And that if we can include the public versus not public, how do we want to integrate the public in that first poll? I think that would be great. So Alan, if you have more information you could give us about, or if anybody knows kind of, what are our requirements of being open to the public? What's the expectation of public versus non-public meetings?
Okay, so kind of jumping onto that, I may also ask Kira to jump in, because I know there was some discussion about, part of the reason I think this was a subcommittee / an ad hoc committee was because we want to be able to pivot more and not be subject to the Brown Act. And Carrie, I don't know if you can chime in more on that than what I just did, but that was my understanding of the original formation of why this was a ad hoc subcommittee, was to have that ability to pivot and be more flexible and agile. Sorry, Carrie.
Yeah, I think that, so the, some of you may recall the original impetus for this committee was to figure out what type of a committee or should look like. There are some cities, I think Jerry had mentioned, that have climate commissions or more formal bodies. The process to get us to here and the membership that we have, I would anticipate that this body will be in place for a while at least. And many of the members may, so it may just morph naturally, in which case it is more of a standing subcommittee. That being said, we do post the agendas to the website. With the subcommittees, they're generally not live streamed like the city council meetings are, things like that. And generally the recordings, like with the Zero Waste subcommittee, they're not recorded. And part of that is they weren't recorded because we weren't doing things via Zoom. And what happens after when we can all meet in person again is also a good kind of question. I think there's...
Carrie, just to interject, is the bottom line so I think what the group would like to know is the bottom line legality. Does this meeting have to, these meetings, do they have to legally be open to the public? And then there's, the policy question of whether the city council expected they would be open to the public. And then we get down to, this group may decide that they want it to be open to the public. But, if you can address that, is there a legal requirement?
Right, so yes, thank you. I will get to that point. Yes, we do post the agendas because they are open to the public. I would, and this is an area I want to check the city attorney on, I'm not sure, because it's a subcommittee, that you have to take public comment. They can attend as observers versus, having to take public comment on every single item and that kind of a thing. As a subcommittee, you're not making decisions, you're recommending to either the planning commission or the city council. So you have additional flexibility there, because when your recommendations go to those bodies, that's when they will be required to do public comment.
Okay, so maybe given Kenna the amount of time that you have left here, that's something that you might ask Alan and Carrie to just get back to you about. Up to you, but it sounds like it's kind of a little, there isn't a definite yes or no from what I can
Well,
tell.
Diana, we've had experience with the Zero Waste Subcommittee, which has 2 council members on it rather than a council member and a planning commissioner as well. And our meetings are open to the public. A few kind of interested people on the fringe of the issues and who may want to become involved or, have some enthusiasm have attended. Generally speaking, it turns out to be just the committee members with staff who have met, but public are welcome in that way. In this case, I think we have issues that are much broader. I mean, we have a really huge topic here, just not zero waste. And I think we have also expertise from other cities who may want to share information with this group. So while I don't expect there'll be a lot of public involvement, I would encourage the group to have some opening where the people who are here and listening can have a little bit of chance to say something, whether that's a 2-minute time comment or 3 minutes or untimed. That's all obviously up to this group. I would just encourage it.
So that's probably something, Kenna, that you just need to put on your kind of, to-do list to figure out. But obviously, we want the public to be involved. I mean, that's kind of how you guys got involved, right? Because there was an opportunity. But I bet what you're going to find, and remember, Alan and Carrie and Sarah and I will be there. I expect that what you're going to find is exactly that. There will be people participating. You can decide maybe at your next meeting what you're going to do about public comment, and you'll end up, facilitating it. It sounds like there's.
I have experience. We allowed the public to as well, and the chair controlled it. So. And in our case, we did not have city council members on the committee, and we were not, and we have much larger legal staff than we have here. We were not imposed on the Brown Act. Once we established a climate commission, a sustainability commission, that was imposed with the Brown Act. And it'd be nice if we weren't, because we could also use a collab site then and discuss amongst ourselves. And with the Brown Act, we won't be allowed to do that.
So Kenna, I'm passing the gavel on to you, but I see that Luke has a question there, but I'm going to shut up now.
I'm going to recognize Luke.
Thank you. I just wanted to note, I think Brown Act aside, I think it would be great practice for the city just to live the meeting. Public comment, I think, is kind of a different can of worms, but whether we live stream it on YouTube or Vimeo, I'm not entirely sure why the city has 2 accounts for live streaming, but either one I think would be fine. And in general, I think it would be great if the city could pick one as well.
All right, so it seems like the remaining item that we have to discuss is, do we want to have someone keeping a record of action items and commitments and expectations that we're making during these meetings? So is there someone that would be interested in taking that role on of doing that record keeping piece? Don't all jump up at once. All right.
So just to point it out here, I think it might depend also, just keep in mind, folks, this is not I don't think you're talking about minutes. You're not talking about, so anyone who steps up and does this, Kenna, if what you guys can talk about what it's going to be, it might just be what are the action items, you know, like a list of 5, so that you're at least tracking that. I've done minutes for committees and it can be just kind of crazy making. So just putting it out there that whoever steps up to do this, you know, you can probably define it as narrowly as you want to.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if we have 3 chairs or, you know, 3 people supporting that, if in Luke, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have some sort of summarizing for the planning commission aspect that you do as well. And, you know, maybe amongst the chairs for a given meeting, like somebody's facilitating, somebody's taking general notes, and somebody is tracking action items. I mean, I could certainly be the person who tries to summarize the action items if I'm not the person who's facilitating, and then just, you know, read that out at the end and say, is this an accurate summary of what we're trying to do for next time? I mean, if we're going to have co-chairs, hopefully we could sort of tag them on that. Does that sound reasonable?
That sounds great. Jerry, were you wanting to say something?
Yeah, I did. And the question I had is, and because my experience was different, and Carrie won't like this, why is the note-taking not a staff responsibility? And that made it really easier for us to, as a chair for me, it made it easy to keep continuity as well.
I will answer that question, even though I recorded my mouth. So the reason is that our staff is that, I'm going to say this so that they don't have to say it. Our staff is really, really overworked right now. The pandemic, and I don't know when they sleep, if at all. So we're trying to limit the staff commitment so long as to the essential support. And so that's why the idea of recording it was proposed, so that the detail is there, Jerry. But then our hope was that, as Joshua was kind of volunteering himself and Luke to do, and Kenna, that there would be just kind of an action item piece. So that would be why, just saying.
Yeah, I'm backing Diane up on that. It was never intended that this be a fully staffed commission. This is a subcommittee that's intended to be citizen-based and community-based.
Great. So we will integrate that into our processes. Has everybody in the group had a chance to look over the roster that was sent out to check your name and email address and contact information? My request would be that everyone check that and make sure, so that we can use that as our roster moving forward. And then I will use that document as a basis for for inviting you all to a doodle poll within the next week, to ask questions about how often do you want to meet, how long do you think the meeting should be, and feel free to reach out to me in the meantime with other things that you think would be important for the committee to be asked, so that we can have our process in place well soon, because we are behind. You know, you could 20 years behind, 50 years behind, at least a year or so behind. So hopefully we can hit the ground running. I just posted my email in the chat, so that if any of you don't have access to that document, you have a way to reach out to me and make sure that I have your correct contact information. So that's my plan moving forward. I would love for us to end on time. We have 15 seconds. Diana, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to know whether you want to address how soon that meeting might be, because there was some back and forth, Kenna. Is it a week? Is it 2 weeks? Or you want to just leave that for the poll?
I'd like to leave that for the poll, because I don't think we have time to have that discussion right now, but I will commit to getting that poll out within a week at the very latest.
I love your style. Be great, folks. Wow.
All right. So Alan, ending on time, unless someone has something they need to say. Alan, did you have something?
Yes, I have a quick little note I'd like to add. So I think earlier there was the question of, are the videos going to be uploaded or made available? So our intention is to kind of make, you know, the climate action subcommittee page kind of more akin to some of our other meeting pages. And once we establish a regular meeting date, you know, we'll add, or days, whatever it may be, we'll start adding those and adding agendas and essentially having the videos uploaded there. So it'll be uploaded in time once we get a little bit more established.
Thank you so much. All right,
Okay.
everyone. Thanks for coming.
Everyone unmute because we have to applaud our success. Come on. This is
Nicely
the first
done.
meeting. Something's
Nicely
great.
done.
Woo! Yes.
And thank you for the people who stepped up. Oh my goodness, I'm
I
so
know.
grateful. Yeah.
Me too. I'm
Thanks,
grateful for all
everybody.
of you.
Wow. Wow. All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Thank
y'all.
you.
Yeah.
Until
Bye.
next time.
Bye.
I hope it's soon.
Bye.
Hey, Kenneth. Thank you for sticking around. I don't know if you did that on purpose or
Oh,
not.
no,
but
I
it's
actually
good to-
didn't do it on purpose, but yeah, do you guys have anything you want me to know or?
There's nothing too much in particular other than I guess the next real step is just getting everything up and running and